And now that Collingwood's season has been put out of its misery, we can now look to some of the rumours between the club and being linked to certain players around the league. The ones that are active, of course, there were ones like Ned Moyle, Logan McDonald and Luke Davies-Uniacke, which have unfortunately been put to sleep quite early as they have either signed on or have stated that they will be looking to sign on to the club that they currently reside at the moment. So let's get started. We've got very likely, 50-50, unclear and quite unlikely. So as always, like to get a reference point. So I think what is quite unlikely at the moment, I would say someone like Rory Lobb is quite unlikely to make it to the Collingwood Football Club. Now, if you asked me 3 months ago, maybe a little less, and you said, hey, do you think you would entertain the idea of having Rory Lobb at your club? I'd say no, because at that point he was a fringe player playing in the VFL and was serving the Mason Cox role at Western Bulldogs when he was playing at his best. And I said, well, we've got Mason Cox, we've got Darcy Cameron, we now have Rory Smith who's playing his trade in the VFL, we've got Oscar Steen. I just thought we had too many of these players to bring someone who is not young. Rory Lobb would be close to his 30s, maybe 29, 28. So I didn't see any value in that. Obviously what's changed is his position, and now he's playing as this key backman and intercepting king the last 5 matches, one of the best in the league at doing that. And his trade value has gone up and is probably going to remain at the Western Bulldogs the way things are going. Rumours, murmurs have started to subside as his form and role has been more clearer, become more transparent at the Western Bulldogs. So we'll have Rory Lobb at quite unlikely. And then unclear for me is someone like Brodie Smith, just because of how quickly the talks were culled earlier in the year. And I think that's to do, I think there was some conversation between the Dacos brothers and Brodie Smith in regards to not being so frequently present together on social media. They want to push that to the side while Brodie Smith nurses his ACL rehab and conversations brew behind closed doors. And I would imagine Hawthorn have first dibs with what they have available in their draft stocks compared to what Collingwood have at the moment. So if he is to go to Hawthorn, I feel like that's where, or if he does have the opportunity to go to Hawthorn, I think he'd go there just because of Hawthorn's transcendence in the last 12 weeks versus where Collingwood's at, versus what Collingwood has available to trade for Brodie Smith. But this one's more of a wait and see, and I haven't heard much around the conversation of someone like Brodie Smith in recent times. Who is very likely? Well, sorry, we'll go 50-50. Hey, I have to say, as of today, I think Christian Petracca is near on a 50-50. If you haven't heard, Petracca, in his exit meeting with Simon Goodwin and co, he said, I want out. So that's step one to finding your way out of the Melbourne Demons Football Club, despite being on a massive contract and a long one at that. He's clearly stated he's grown up a Collingwood fan and wants to move to another Melbourne-based club that has a big, I guess, reputation to help build his personal brand is what we've been told. We know what he does on his TikToks and Instagram with his cooking stuff. And he wants to play in front of big crowds. So you think Essendon, Carlton, Collingwood. Carlton have said they're not going to trade someone like Harry Mackay to get him there. Essendon, I'm not too sure if there's anything that's evolving. And with Collingwood, again, more news today. John Noble comes out and says, I want to trade, I want to go to Gold Coast, move closer to the family, 4-year deal, sees me out to the end of my career. Fair enough. Collingwood might get a desirable trade with Gold Coast. Gold Coast are quite liberal with their trades and have that many draft picks in that first and second round in this year's draft edition. There's a chance we get a first round pick for someone like John Noble, particularly how the AFL has, I guess, changed in the game style, how dependent teams are on ball movement from back half to forward half. I hope you guys can't hear that dog. It's doing my head in. But John Noble's that type of player who can play second string or second fiddle as a halfback flanker, and Gold Coast are probably looking for John Noble to complement someone like Daniel Rioli if he gets over in the end. So we've got Christian Petracca at 50-50, Bailey Smith, unclear, Rory Lobb, quite unlikely. And like I said, 50-50 because we're starting to build potential draft stocks to get someone like Petracca. And very likely of them all, I think we've got someone like Markeen. He has obviously previously played for Collingwood. Didn't end on the best of terms. Went back home, understandably so. He was quite young then. He's still quite young now. I think he's at the age of 24, 25 now. He's currently in Ireland on personal leave. Rumours around that suggest that he's unhappy with the club and is really keen to leave. And I can hear my phone ringing now, so just a bunch of distractions, but I'm going to overcome it. So, yeah, I think Markeen is most likely to happen and is most suited to what Collingwood needs from the off-season trade window. We've had Billy Frampton, we've had Charlie Dean, all tried and tested at stages throughout the year, and it hasn't quite worked out. I'd like to think Nathan Kruger can maybe play a second key tall defender role, but he hasn't been selected recently, so I think Markeen is going to be most likely that. Not Nathan Murphy. I don't want to say Nathan Murphy replacement. There's no one can replace that guy. That guy, what he did in his own way can't be matched, and that's fine. But I think Markeen brings a lot of value. Great ball user, great intercept marking, and has a lot of dog in him. So I think this is a trade that is an auspicious one for Collingwood, and what we give up for someone like Markeen, I'm not too sure. I imagine a late first round draft pick / second round pick and a future second, maybe one or the other. So either a late first round pick or a second round draft pick now and a future second round draft pick as well. So that's where I see that transpiring for us to get Markeen over the line. Who else is quite unlikely? I think Tom Barrass. I think his age, his body, and what he's worth is probably too much of a risk, and we probably need to mitigate risk when it comes to these older players, given how old our list is at this present moment, being one of the second or third oldest teams in the league. I think let someone like Tom Barrass go over to a Hawthorn, and we'll pick up the leftovers in someone like Josh Battle. Now, this is a 50-50 because I feel like if we get Markeen, we're probably not going to go Josh Battle. If we get Josh Battle, we're probably not going to get Markeen. So Markeen could very well end up here. Who knows? I think Josh Battle's had a great year at the Saints. Improving year on year, reliable. Who would I take out of Markeen and Josh Battle? I think Markeen has a bit more of a ceiling, with Josh Battle being a couple years older than Markeen. So that's where I think that stands at 50-50, maybe somewhere between here and here if I had another tier, but I don't. Harrison Petty, quite unlikely. He was on the trade table for 2 first-round draft picks towards Adelaide last year, and that didn't happen. And I'm sure Melbourne are kicking themselves now because what Melbourne and Harrison Petty have been able to put onto the field this year has been nothing short of a debacle, with a bunch of reasons behind that. But Petty, in particular, forward of centre, has been playing not very well. Hasn't had much of an impact. He's played well last few games to finish out the season. How much you take that into consideration, I'm not too sure. I liked the idea of the potential of Harrison Petty coming to Collingwood because we could revert him back to a defender, and that's his best position, and that's where he played his best footy. But as it stands, I haven't heard a whole lot. It's somewhere here. Quite unlikely, unclear. So maybe unclear. I'll leave it there for now. And then, what else do we have? We have Tom Lynch. Tom Lynch, for me, I'm gonna go unclear because this has just come of light today as well. Like heaps of off-season news for Collingwood already. So a double upload today. Tom Lynch is unclear in the sense that, again, he was previously a Collingwood supporter. There was vested interest in Tom Lynch coming to Collingwood before he elected to go with Richmond. And it's just unclear. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I think it's unclear because I don't know if Collingwood are going to be that silly to consider someone of this age. And I think this year we've learned that our forward line is probably really good as to where it stands balance-wise and in the key position stocks and our small forward stocks as well. You got Jamie Elliott, Bo McCreary, Bobby Hill, Lockie Schultz hopefully finds more consistent form next year. And you got Dan McStay, who had an incredible last few games coming back off the back of his ACL. And then Mason Cox and Darcy Cameron rolling through the forward line. It's working like clockwork. So it's the least of our concerns. If we can get Tom Lynch for an extremely cheap price and don't have to give up much, then maybe we could consider that and then he could find himself here. But for now, I'm just going to leave it unclear just because of how early we are in this process. I want to say that this one is also a 50-50. Now, obviously, there's a couple 50-50s here, and you can't have all of them here because ultimately, I think Collingwood will only make 2 or 3 trades, bearing in mind that we want to invest in a father-son next year in Thomas McGuan as well. I think Sam Berry is somewhere here. He's been on the outer for the most part of his career at Adelaide, barring his first season and the back half of this year, but he's really shown some form, and he's that inside bull that Collingwood need. And I think he's better than Finlay McRae. He's definitely better than Lockie Sullivan, better than Jack Bytel, and Ed Allen is still a question mark. Played a really good game against Melbourne, fair enough, understand that. But I think this guy is really, I'm salivating at the prospect of Sam Berry, Nick Dacos, and Jordan De Goey, and then Thomas McGuan, and then Jack Crisp, and then Josh Dacos potentially rolling through the midfield at certain points throughout their career. I think that's a really good balance, and that's important. There's been times where Collingwood have looked susceptible due to how slow they've been in the middle, and I think Sam Berry being a young, big-bodied inside mid, paired with, like I said, De Goey, Dacos, etc., I think it's a really nice makeup. And Collingwood should consider getting Sam Berry. Jack Lukosius is unclear because he does want to leave Gold Coast and wants to potentially return home to South Australia. So that's why I think it's unclear/unlikely. Probably should have put an unlikely rather than quite unlikely, but a little bit more optimism around this man and his versatility and his availability towards Collingwood because of the trade to Gold Coast for John Noble, which makes this, it could be unlikely and then somewhere in between here. I think I'll leave Jack Lukosius there, which means we probably have room for one more player to move into this slot here. Okay, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I don't think Josh Battle, because like I said, if we go for one or the other, that means that will cancel them out by default. I don't think Bailey Smith. I don't know about Harrison Petty, his mental fortitude. I think Jack Lukosius is a jack of all trades, master of none. I want to go Sam Berry and maybe Tom Lynch as well, once it's all said and done. This has been a really fun little task. This tier could end up like in so many different orders. So please let me know in the comment section what you think. I think there's a lot to play with there. If I've missed anyone, like I said, Ned Moyle, Luke Davies-Uniacke, Sam Taylor, all unavailable and have signed on or either looking to sign on. Mac Andrew has been something I've enticed, but not necessarily something that's come into mainstream media. Oscar Allen as well. But I think he's someone who's set to sign as well at the Eagles. So let me know what you guys think. Go Pies.